The anime begins by showing us a spectacular night view of Tokyo from the top of a skyscraper, where a mysterious girl is standing and jumps from the heights. The night is quiet and lonely among the buildings. Our protagonist quietly sneaks out of his apartment to enjoy a nighttime walk. Kou Yamori is a high school student who has been unable to sleep at night lately. He remembers receiving a love letter at school one day, but he rejected the girl because he is unable to understand her feelings. Now that he can't sleep, he is alone on the streets without his parents knowing. He searches for advice for his problem on the internet, but he is recommended to drink alcohol. Yamori knows it's wrong, but when he finds a vending machine, he can't resist the temptation to buy a drink and try alcohol for the first time. He is immediately discovered by Nazuna, the mysterious girl dressed in black who does nothing but tease him. Yamori gets scared and tries to escape, but Nazuna tells him that she won't call the police. She knows he has trouble sleeping and is willing to help him. She explains to him that people don't sleep because they are not satisfied with their daily lives, while pointing out some men who are soundly asleep because they are satisfied, although they are actually just drunk. The girl greets all of them with full confidence and tells him that at night, one can be free and do whatever they want. Yamori also wants to be free, and when he approaches the men to greet them, one of them vomits at his feet. Freedom is not so pleasant, but it's not bad either. Nazuna asks him if he believes he can sleep now, and they both end up going to the girl's apartment. Inside, Yamori discovers that there is only one futon, and she has taken off her coat, leaving herself dressed only in small pieces of clothing. Yamori gets scared again because he doesn't want to do anything perverted, but this mysterious girl has a very unusual behavior and doesn't let him escape. They lie down together on the futon with the lights off, while Nazuna tells him to close his eyes and breathe deeply. Yamori continues to feel uncomfortable and turns his back to her. He decides to pretend to be asleep to distract her, but when she thinks he fell asleep, she reveals her true intentions. She hungrily approaches the boy and sinks her fangs into his neck. Nazuna is impressed because his blood is truly delicious, but the boy quickly gets up, surprised by the red liquid. She tells him it was a mosquito, but of course, he doesn't believe her. She has no choice but to confess that she is a vampire. Yamori is filled with terror because now he believes he will also become a vampire, but she calms him down and tells him it's not possible. The boy actually seems disappointed. He gets upset and asks why she didn't turn him into a vampire. Then she explains that there is only one way that can happen. He has to be in love with the vampire who drinks his blood in order to transform. For Yamori, it's difficult to fall in love because he doesn't understand human emotions very well, and he doesn't really like girls that much. He's tired of his empty and routine life, so he tells Nazuna that he wants to become a vampire to continue enjoying the nightlife. Nazuna blushes when he tells her that he wants to fall in love with her. She tells him that she will do nothing more than drink his blood, and if he falls in love, it's his own business. Then they go to a rooftop where she explains that blood is more delicious at night when a person is falling asleep. Then Yamori is kicked off the rooftop and falls in terror from above. He is sure he is going to die, but his new companion catches him and they fly together through the air. She wants to show him how magnificent the night is. They observe the spectacular city lights contrasting with the constellations in the night sky. Yamori doesn't think it's a bad idea to live that way. Another night comes, and Yamori escapes from his home again. He meets Nazuna in the park, where she explains to him that the process of feeding and reproducing is the same for vampires. In other words, vampires combine food and intercourse. This causes great embarrassment for Yamori. The girl asks him if his goal is clear, and he insists that he wants to become a vampire. When he says he will fall in love with her, now it's Nazuna who blushes. And when he offers his neck for her to drink his blood, she acts completely embarrassed, calling him a pervert. Nazuna insults him because Yamori doesn't fully understand how intimate the act of drinking blood is. He accepts it, and as Yamori knows he won't accomplish anything, he changes the subject. Then he asks for her phone number so he can locate her every night, but she doesn't have a phone. As he insists that it's necessary, they go to the vampire's apartment where she had an old brick-like phone hidden. In the end, the girl doesn't even want to take that heavy device outside, so she gives up and decides to go to bed, inviting the boy to the futon. Yamori feels uncomfortable lying next to a sexy girl with the lights off. Nazuna can't resist the temptation and asks if she can finally drink his blood. He refuses, making her angry. Earlier, he told her not to look for anyone else, and now he doesn't want to let her feed. But Yamori is just acting like a jealous child. Then the girl approaches first. Both of them look embarrassed, and she confesses that she was actually looking for him but didn't want to admit it. Yamori takes off his jacket so she can finally take some of his blood. Yamori is happy because she feels the same way he does, but he doesn't want to understand what that means. In the end, they both sleep together on the futon. It's a new night, and Yamori has the same problem finding Nazuna. When she appears, he shows her that he bought a transmitter in the shape of a watch. The girl gets very excited, thinking it's for playing and having fun. Then he tells a sad story about his childhood without friends. One day he bought a pair of transmitters, but since he had no one to use it with, he hid one of them so someone could find it and try to communicate, but no one ever called him. When Yamori showed that he was using the old transmitter, Nazuna fell to the floor laughing at how pathetic the friendless boy was. Then the girl goes far away to try the new transmitters. They spend a fun time communicating from a distance. Later, they jump and wander over the buildings in the middle of the night until they reach the rooftop of the school. Yamori has strange feelings about the place since he has stopped attending classes. Then Nazuna bares her fangs to give him a bite. Yamori has noticed that the girl always talks about indecent things, but when it comes to romantic things, she always gets embarrassed. So he decides to call her Nazuna-chan and tells her that they will be friends first. As he expected, she blushes. Back home, Yamori receives a signal on his old transmitter and is surprised. Then one of his classmates appears with the other transmitter. Yamori is surprised to encounter his classmate Akira so early in the lonely park. She wakes up very early and goes for walks before going to school. So Yamori asks her why she has his old transmitter. She replies that she has kept it since he gave it to her. Yamori goes into shock because he remembers leaving it on top of the mailboxes. Akira continues to explain that after that, he made many friends but never called her. But since he was skipping school, she wanted to contact him through the transmitter to see how he was doing. When Yamori asked if he really gave her the transmitter, Akira said that he left it right on top of the mailbox of her apartment, so she assumed it was a gift and thanked him for considering her a friend. Yamori couldn't believe he caused such a misunderstanding. When he was little, other kids played while he enjoyed watching ants on the ground. Akira joined him and told him they were friends, which surprised him. Now, he had no choice but to greet the girl as true friends. They even agreed to meet again in that park in the early morning. Yamori contacted Nazuna to tell her that he had a friend, but the girl simply told him to go to sleep. Several nights had passed since then, and Yamori had gotten used to saying goodbye to Nazuna early. To embarrass him, the vampire complained that they were only having a physical relationship. She even acted like a jealous girlfriend, accusing him of meeting another woman. Yamori could only avoid her gaze with embarrassment, confirming her suspicions. But he denied it completely, leaving Nazuna alone in her apartment. He then ran to meet Akira, with whom he only sat in the park and hardly spoke. He asked her if it was uncomfortable, and she replied that it felt good just to be with him. Yamori thought that maybe she was in love with him, but he couldn't think much about it because he discovered that Nazuna had been secretly watching them. Yamori thought the vampire was angry and got scared when he saw her approaching. But in reality, she made fun of the pair of kids who met in the late hours to do perverted things. Akira noticed that they got along well and understood that they might be a couple. This upset Nazuna, who scolded her for thinking about unnecessary romantic things. To clarify the misunderstanding, Nazuna simply grabbed Yamori and approached his neck to suck his blood. The boy lamented that she did it in front of his friend, but with this, Akira discovered that Nazuna was a vampire using the boy as a food source. The three of them went to have a conversation in a cafe. Akira interrogated her friend about why he was giving his blood to the girl. Yamori replied that he was tired of school and his boring life. But Akira said that she felt the same way and still attended her duties out of obligation. Akira asked him to return to school with her, and Nazuna immediately got upset about that. She asked the girl why she hadn't contacted Yamori before if she was so concerned. Then the vampire got up and left. Yamori quickly paid the bill and followed Nazuna in the middle of the night. He asked if she was angry, and even though she tried to deny it, she ended up yelling at him for being foolish. Then she hopped away into the darkness. Yamori chased after her until he ran out of energy. Then he continued searching for her in the empty streets without success and fell down some stairs. Finally, he managed to contact her through the transmitter and apologized, although he didn't know why he had to apologize. Nazuna appeared and asked why he didn't say that he wanted to go to school. The boy replied that he couldn't tell a human friend that he wanted to become a vampire. Nazuna noticed that he had blood on his lip from the fall and kissed him to clean it off. The flirtatious girl bid him farewell, leaving him astonished because it's not normal for friends to kiss each other. Akira is anxious at school, waiting for Yamori to come. But when the class ends, she returns home alone. She checks the mailbox, enters her house, takes a bath, brushes her teeth, and lies down on her bed. It's always the same boring routine. Meanwhile, as night falls, Yamori quietly leaves his apartment like an expert. He remembers with embarrassment the kiss Nazuna gave him, and when he finds her waiting for him in the park, he leaves because he wants to avoid the topic of the kiss. Then he sees a couple on a bridge kissing and blushes because it's the first time he sees a real kiss. He starts thinking that only couples and people in love kiss. So, he must be in love, right? He gets excited quickly, believing that he can finally become a vampire. When Nazuna finds him, she immediately opens her jacket and asks him to drink her blood right away. The vampire blushes at his perverted behavior. Then he tells her that he is sure he has finally fallen in love with her. Of course, Nazuna finds it impossible, but she puts him to the test. Yamori trembles but eagerly walks toward her, eager to achieve his goal. Nazuna indulges him with a big bite on his pale neck. When they separate, he feels nothing. Obviously, it didn't work. He doesn't understand why. Then Nazuna mocks him because he's confused by the kiss she gave him the previous night. He thought he was in love because of something so simple, but it's actually due to his hormones. He understands that he only felt sexual desire from the kiss. Then she caresses him and asks if he wants more. But the boy acts like a victim, as if a pervert stole his first kiss. Then she says it was her first kiss too. But she's not worried because she thinks it's normal between friends. Akira wakes up at midnight because she can't sleep and goes out into the street in her school uniform. Yamori finds her, surprised, and invites her to spend the night together. Nazuna beats the boy at video games and invites Akira to play. If Akira wins, she will give her a kiss. The girl doesn't hesitate to refuse the prize, but she realizes that she should have offered a kiss to Yamori as well. The boy wants to deny it, but the vampire won't let him. Akira is worried about her relationship with that pervert, but Nazuna clarifies that he is not in love. Then they start a dating game with schoolgirls, and Yamori refuses to go to school even in the game. He complains that it's very bothersome and that he doesn't like being surrounded by people. Akira can't believe how much he hates school. Nazuna wants to sleep, and Akira learns that they always sleep together. The worst part is that now they want all three of them to sleep on the same futon. Akira can't leave because it's raining and there are still hours until school opens, but she can't stand being in that place anymore, especially when the vampire is sucking her friend's blood. Yamori cries in a corner because he doesn't like his friend seeing him in that state, but Nazuna has no shame in wiping the blood off her cheeks. Akira asks why they're doing that, and Nazuna explains that his blood is very good. Akira still doesn't understand why her friend lets her suck his blood, so Nazuna asks her to tell the truth. The boy gathers his courage and tells his friend that he wants to become a vampire, but for that, he has to be in love with the vampire. Nazuna is very embarrassed by the topic. Then they all lie down. Akira is at peace because at least Yamori is happy, and she tells him that they can still be friends after he becomes a vampire. Finally, they manage to fall asleep, and Akira wakes up too late to go to school. Nazuna wakes up when the sun is still high in the sky. Apparently, now she is the one having trouble sleeping. The girl passes the time by playing video games. Then she checks the mailbox and, not wanting to do chores, sits down to watch TV. But the vampire feels like she's wasting her precious time, so she goes out to seek entertainment in the middle of the night. Outside, she encounters a cute cat in a park, but now the cat's stench sticks to her. Since it's early, she goes into a public bathroom and asks the attendant to take care of her transmitter. Inside the bathroom, she complains that she can't see herself in the mirror. When her transmitter rings, she rushes out to meet Yamori, who can't even recognize her. Since she just took a bath, her hair is loose, and her appearance is somewhat flirtatious. Yamori also wants to go to a public bathroom for the first time, and that's how he ends up submerged in a bathtub, lost in his thoughts. The boy explores all the spaces the spa offers while pondering what he's currently doing with his life. Even having fun causes a certain level of stress and psychological pressure. When he leaves the bathroom, Yamori looks at Nazuna strangely. While the girl tries to make fun plans, he can't help but think about how pretty she looks that night. He feels that his heart is beating faster than usual and that his body is warmer. Nazuna realizes that the boy is acting strangely, so she shouts at him. He is surprised and simply asks her to drink his blood because it helps him calm down and control his emotions. When he feels that way, Yamori believes that he might be in love, but if his blood is sucked, he can confirm whether it's true or not. As the girl embraces him and approaches his neck, he feels intense pain that makes him scream. To recover, the boy asks her to rest at a nearby inn, but when they enter, he is embarrassed because it's actually a love hotel. Nazuna teases him for his innocence but then confronts him because she knows what he thinks while she sucks his blood, so she knows that he only wanted to confirm his feelings for her. He says he doesn't want to have immoral thoughts about her because she's his friend, even though he has to fall in love with her. But Nazuna tells him that each of his emotions gives a different flavor to her blood, so she wants him to experience joy, sadness, or anger so that he can offer her each of their flavors. When the perverted girl tries to put on adult movies, it turns out they had to pay extra for that, so they just stay to watch TV for a while. After that, they watch people from a bridge, and Nazuna points to someone and says she has already sucked their blood. Yamori gets jealous, and the girl can only tease him even more. To calm him down, she tells him that he is currently the only one, and in the past, her victims were only one-time encounters. Just like when she took him to her apartment one night. Yamori finds it outrageous that she used his house for dirty things, and the girl gets upset because he's exaggerating. Then she shows him how she uses her apartment as a sleep clinic. Nazuna dresses up as a sick person and offers various services to help her clients sleep. Then she teaches Yamori how to give them relaxing massages. Unaware that she's making very provocative poses, and the boy can barely contain himself. Coincidentally, a client arrives, and Nazuna asks him to attend to her because she is tired. When Yamori doesn't want to do it, the vampire confesses that the sleep clinic is actually the only thing that earns her money, and she hasn't worked in the whole month because she was playing with him. She even offered him half the money they would pay her. But as he continues to resist helping her, Nazuna uses her feminine secret weapon. She flirts with the boy and tells him that if he does it, she'll give him another kiss as a reward. The client they were about to attend arrived by taxi with some colleagues but got off stressed. She remembered the sleep clinic where Nazuna gave her a good massage before, so she went there again. But this time, a boy attended to her, who also made her wait a long time. When he returned, Yamori was wearing his uniform, but he was acting strange, and the client got scared. While giving the massage, the boy kept repeating to himself that he was doing it for the money and not for the promised kiss. Yamori was completely lost in his thoughts, and the client noticed that he was distracted and not very efficient. When she asked his age, she was surprised that he worked at such a young age. The boy said that he was exploring what he could do with his life. After dropping out of school, he ran away one night and wanted to learn to enjoy the nightlife. The girl was surprised by his simple and carefree story and shared that she felt the same in her adolescence. One night when she went shopping, she was able to enjoy the sensation of empty streets. She introduced herself as Shirakawa and wanted to know more about Yamori. He confessed that he used to be a good student but simply got tired of school. Shirakawa was also tired of her job. Although it was fun, she didn't like having to pretend all the time that she was happy in front of other people. The girl suddenly remembered her miserable life and started crying. Then her boss called on the phone. The girl had to return to work, but Yamori sympathized with her and wanted to help. Shirakawa saw the boy go mad, blocking her way out. Then Nazuna appeared by going through the wall, and when Yamori asked for her help to prevent her from returning to work, the vampire only came up with throwing her out the window. Yamori was upset, while Shirakawa fell from a great height, fully convinced she was about to die. Then Yamori threw himself to grab her arm, and Nazuna grabbed them from behind. Shirakawa tried to recover from the dramatic experience, but she had to respond to her boss. Yamori told her that if he was making her cry so much, then she should quit her job. He told her that Nazuna was a vampire, and he also wanted to become one. She only saw him as a naive boy who understood nothing about the obligations of adults and had abnormal goals. Yamori argued that her boss was not normal either if he called her to work at 2 in the morning. Shirakawa thought he was a complete fool, and that made her envious. She ended up laughing out loud at the craziness she had just heard. To prove that he wasn't crazy, Yamori invited her to stand in the middle of the road. Shirakawa was able to experience the feeling of freedom in doing something forbidden because the streets were empty at night. However, she couldn't quit her job or forget her obligations. Yamori promised her that if he became a vampire, he would also turn her so she could live a better life. Shirakawa returned to her duties, and Nazuna scolded Yamori, unsure if he could keep his promise because he would have to make Shirakawa fall in love with him. But Yamori told her that wasn't a problem. Another night, Nazuna welcomes him to the apartment and asks for ideas to go out and have fun before they get tired of doing the same thing. They end up visiting a nighttime pool. Nazuna appeared wearing clothes that covered her body more than usual, but still made Yamori blush. The girl went to get a drink, and some guys started flirting with her. To make Yamori jealous, she played along with them, until the boy got upset and dragged her away by the arm. Nazuna's apologies didn't seem enough to appease him. To make him happy, the girl invited him to swim again, but this time they flew through the air and landed in the school's swimming pool. At least now she sincerely apologized and finally sank her fangs into his neck to enjoy the delicious taste she obtained that night. Yamori encounters Shirakawa, who thanks him for giving her hope. Now, when she can't stand her job, she knows that someday Yamori might turn her into a vampire and change her life. The boy experiences an emotional shock because it's the first time he has done something good for someone else. The rain interrupts his thoughts, and he runs to take shelter under a roof. Then he notices a blonde girl being flirted with but rejecting the man. She notices Yamori's gaze and greets him. The girl seems to leave, but suddenly appears in front of Yamori. Then she sits down to chat with him. As he can't stop staring at her, the girl calls him a pervert, and he blushes. But then she offers to show him her breasts. Yamori tells her it's wrong, even though he had already approached to look. She teases him and steals his drink. Yamori chases after her, asking her to give it back, but it's futile. The girl says she's bored and tired of her life. Yamori tries to cheer her up, and she hugs him to thank him, suddenly revealing her sharp fangs and sinking them into the boy's neck. But Nazuna appears, tearing the girl's arm off. The blonde girl mocks Nazuna and scolds her for breaking the rules, as she is with a human without converting or killing him. The two vampires start fighting, and another woman appears, grabbing Yamori and kidnapping him. The boy ends up flying through the air with his captor, who takes him to a place where 3 other female vampires are waiting. They are Nico, Midori, Tatsuka, and their kidnapper, Kabura. Then Nico tells him he has to choose the one he likes the most to turn him into a vampire. If he doesn't, they will have to kill him because it's too dangerous for him to know their secret. But Yamori doesn't hesitate to say that he prefers Nazuna. The vampires are surprised by his answer. They all consider themselves experts in love. Then Midori claims that she will make him fall in love with her because Nico has no experience with virgin men. Then Nico starts seducing him with tactics they all know, and they wonder if the boy will fall for her charms. Yamori tells Nico that she resembles resembles Nazuna the most in the way she speaks. The woman gets angry because she is compared to a poor inexperienced girl. Then they tell Yamori that Nazuna's problem is that she doesn't try to seduce men. Instead, she treats them poorly. That's why she hasn't been able to reproduce. The vampires start talking about their conquests, and the conversation turns into a girls' chat that makes Yamori uncomfortable. It was precisely Nazuna who was telling Sari, the blonde vampire, that she always hated listening to their girls' talks. Sari says she understands, but it's dangerous to be with a human for too long if she has no intention of seducing him. But Nazuna tells her that she does have intentions of reproducing, but she's too embarrassed to admit that she wants to do it with Yamori. Returning to the boy, this time Midori uses her seduction tactics and sits down to talk with him. But Yamori is not interested at all. They remind him that if he doesn't want to become a vampire, they will have to kill him. Then Yamori confesses that he really wants to become one, so he doesn't understand their threats. He tells them that he wants to fall in love with Nazuna so she can turn him, and at that moment, the vampire who couldn't bear the embarrassment of hearing his words arrives. The girls are surprised that Nazuna is seducing a boy and want to know the deal they made. Yamori says that he simply gives her his blood in exchange for the possibility of transformation. The vampires can't trust Nazuna, but for now, there's not much they can do. Yamori tells them not to worry because he will fall in love, even if it takes years to achieve it. Then everyone is surprised because the boy is not well informed about his situation. Nico explains to Yamori that he has a maximum of 1 year to become a vampire from the moment he was first bitten. The boy can't believe it, and Nazuna apologizes for forgetting to mention it. Nico gives them permission to leave, but Nazuna remembers that she hasn't fulfilled her promise to attend to the massage client. So, she kisses Yamori. The boy is upset because she kissed him in public, but she doesn't care and takes him flying high in the night sky. While looking at the beautiful city, Yamori confesses that he's happy to have met her. Another day in the park, Yamori tells Akira that he only has 1 year to fulfill his dream of becoming a vampire. But the real problem his friend sees is that if he fails to become one, they will really have to kill him. Yamori gets scared because he hadn't thought about it, but Akira tells him that she will help him fall in love, although she doesn't know how she can do it. The girl arrives at her school and comes across a classmate sleeping on the floor. Mahiru tells her that she didn't sleep because she went out to have fun with her girlfriend since she only has time at night. Akira thinks she might be a vampire but can't tell the boy. Mahiru asks if she knows why Yamori doesn't come to school, but Akira doesn't have much to say. She remembers that when they were kids, he was the only one who approached them to watch the ants walking on the ground. But now the boy has his own friends and hobbies. At night, Yamori encounters Sari again, the blonde girl who almost bit him. Yamori gets scared and tries to escape, but she doesn't let him. They talk about Yamori's problem of falling in love within a year. He confesses that he doesn't understand feelings or what it means to be in love. The blonde girl listens and becomes fascinated by his innocence. Sari is very excited but tries to contain herself as much as possible and offers him her help as an expert in love. Then Yamori goes to Nazuna's apartment to ask her out on a date, but she rejects him and closes the door. Yamori enters and finds her playing video games. Since she ignores him, the boy turns off the console, making the vampire very angry, but he doesn't care and insists on having a date. In the end, they go to the movies to watch a film, but Nazuna gets upset because it's a romantic comedy. So, they leave the cinema while Yamori checks the list that Sari wrote for him. Then they go to a cafe where he orders coffee and tries to talk, but everything feels forced, and his friend realizes that it's a plan elaborated by someone else. She takes the list from his hand and discovers that Sari wrote it. Nazuna simply says it's very boring and leaves him alone. Yamori returns home and frustratedly twists on his bed due to the failure of his first date. Nazuna gets tired of playing at her house and checks the list she took from Yamori. The boy is also bored in his room until Nazuna looks through the window. The vampire takes him flying again through the sky to enjoy the beautiful view of the city lights. She tells him that they always have dates because they do fun things together, and that's enough. One night, Yamori coincidentally meets Mahiru. They meet at the park where Yamori can remember the good times they had in their childhood. Akira also arrives, unable to sleep again. Akira tells Mahiru that Yamori doesn't go to school because he goes out every night with a girl. But Mahiru doesn't scold him, she understands him. Then they say goodbye, and Yamori finds Nazuna. On the other street, Mahiru and her girlfriend walk hand in hand. In the same way, Yamori and Nazuna continue their path on the other sidewalk, both couples living their lives in their own way. Sari boredly checks her phone for messages from the bunch of guys she's seducing. When she sees Yamori, she gets excited and chases after him but is stopped by a kick from Nazuna. Sari is left stunned on the ground, and Yamori scolds Nazuna for being so rough. Then Sari hits him on the head, and they start fighting. In the end, They apologize, and Sari assures them that she didn't mean any harm. Nazuna doesn't understand why she wants to get close to Yamori if she considers it dangerous to be with a human. The blonde girl avoids the topic and leaves. Yamori follows her to ask if there's something she wants to talk about. She then invites him to karaoke. Being alone together, she tells him that she has several guys interested in her, but she's tired of playing with them. He tells her that he finds it absurd that people believe love is a reason to live. This disappoints her a little, and she finally understands why Nazuna chose him. To distract herself, she asks to play karaoke, but the boy is not familiar with the popular songs. Instead, he chooses some old songs that he enjoys. She scolds him for finding them boring, but he likes them. She understands that their tastes are different and leaves him alone. Then a man knocks on the door in a disturbing manner. It's one of Sari's stalkers. Yamori gets scared, but Sari brushes it off, saying she doesn't know what to do with crazy guys. Yamori asks her what she plans to do to solve her problems while the stalker keeps peeking through the window. Sari gets annoyed and asks him to simply have fun with her as he does with Nazuna. If the man bothers them too much, they can just eliminate him. This scares Yamori again because he's dealing with a wicked vampire who doesn't mind killing humans. When the stalker finally opens the door, the girl attacks him, and Yamori saves him by telling him to run. They both flee to an alley where the stalker reproaches him for being with his girl. Yamori asks him if they're a couple, but the guy can't answer because he doesn't know what kind of relationship he has with Sari. Yamori asks him if he's in love and tells him to share his story. One night, he fell to the ground and met Sari, who picked up his glasses from the floor. The girl behaved cute and playful. Then they sat down to talk in a cafe, but he knows that Sari only felt sorry for him. He confesses to Yamori that even though they're not boyfriend and girlfriend or anything, he's happy just to be near her. Without realizing it, he started stalking her, sending her messages and following her everywhere. Yamori understands that the guy is mentally unstable, but when Sari appeared, he couldn't let her kill him. The blonde girl told her stalker that she's a vampire and was only using him but is no longer interested in him. She attacked, intending to kill Yamori on the way, but Nazuna stopped her and kept her trapped on the ground. Sari promised not to harm Yamori. The stalker asked to be let go because he was solely responsible for everything. After all, it was wrong for him to fall in love with his friend. It turns out that Sari maintained a friendship with the man without intending to turn him into a vampire. For the first time, she wanted to have a friendship, but she doesn't know how to act with a guy without flirting, which is why everyone falls in love with her. Nazuna releases Sari, who tells the man to leave and forget everything that happened, but she starts crying because she doesn't want to lose her only friend. He apologizes for falling in love with her and asks her to turn him into a vampire so they can be together. Yamori feels a little jealous, but Nazuna tells him that they should go at their own pace. Then they all return to the karaoke to welcome the new vampire. Midori hands out flyers to people, inviting them to her maid cafe. They need more girls to serve, and when she sees Nazuna on the street, she asks for her help. The maid outfit looks great on the vampire. Yamori will only be a customer because after rejecting Midori, the girl plans to show off how flirtatious she can be. So Yamori goes to the entrance where he is received with all the typical attention of the maid cafe. Midori tries her best to treat him as well as any customer, but when it's Nazuna's turn, she is unable to act friendly. Midori gets angry and offers her extra money to do better. Nazuna now feels motivated but still can't act like a true maid. Then Midori demonstrates by serving one of the customers as a super cute and helpful girl. Later, one of the maids brings a drink to Yamori and provides him with the best service, even calling him cute. Her name is Arisa, and she introduces herself with a cute pose. Yamori really liked her introduction. Arisa tells him that Midori has become everyone's favorite since she started working there. She also confesses that she used to be the favorite, which is why she feels a bit jealous. On the other hand, since Yamori knew Midori's true personality, he still didn't like her at all. During the break, Midori saw on her phone that someone had sent provocative photos of Arisa. Midori worries because someone is harassing the girl and asks Yamori for help to catch the culprit. The boy is left alone in the break room analyzing the photos where the girl appears semi-naked. Then Arisa enters and catches him looking at her pictures. She already knew that he was helping to find the stalker, so Yamori looks out the window from where the photos were taken and finds a balcony. Then he goes out so Arisa can change her clothes. Outside, he finds the door leading to the balcony, but it's locked. He goes out on the street to see if he can climb up, but it's not possible for a human. So he jumps up with the help of Nazuna. Being on the balcony, he realizes that they can only reach it with the key to the door. Arisa opens the window and discovers them, making Yamori blush and apologize. Later, the boy tries to take photos from the same angle as the stalker, but they need a model. Nazuna poses for the photos, but she looks horrible. Suddenly, Yamori remembers how each of the photos looked and believes he has discovered who the culprit might be. Midori comes running to the break room to find out who the stalker is, but Yamori starts losing confidence, saying he's only 50% sure he knows who it is. When Arisa opens the door, she only finds Nazuna inside. Midori and Yamori have hidden in one of the lockers. The boy explains that in all the photos, Arisa was alone, so they have to pretend that no one else is there. Yamori tries to show Midori the photos, but they are too provocative, and she thinks he's just a pervert. But they can't mock her anymore because they hear the window opening. It turns out that Arisa had set up her phone on a tripod to take the photos herself. The three detectives caught her red-handed, and she couldn't bear the embarrassment of being discovered. Yamori says that the photos are too good to be taken secretly. Moreover, none of them show her underwear. Now they need to understand why she did it. It's Midori who answers. She says that she was just jealous because she wasn't the most popular anymore. Arisa feels so bad that she wants to quit, but Midori tells her that she didn't do anything wrong. It was just her way of seeking attention. Another day, Yamori visits the maid cafe again and meets Arisa, who attends as a customer in her free time. The girl tells him that she has improved her passion for taking selfies and asks him to take a photo together. In the end, Nazuna also continues to work occasionally at the maid cafe. Nazuna shows Yamori all the new things she bought to improve the clinic and earn more money. Now the boy has to find clients. While walking through the streets, he comes across a depressed woman. Yamori asks her to talk for a while, but it seems like he's seducing her. The woman takes a puff of her cigarette and accepts the invitation. When they sit in a cafe, the boy apologizes, saying that he didn't want to seduce her but was looking for a client who needed help sleeping together. The woman gets confused again, thinking he's just a pervert, but he explains that his boss is a girl who gives massages. The woman realizes that the boy is underage and working late at night, which is against the law, so she could report the business. Yamori gets scared, but the woman ends up mocking him and assures him that she won't say anything. She rejects his visit to the sleep clinic but gives him a business card stating that she works as a private detective. Yamori gets excited, thinking that she solves criminal cases, but she only investigates infidelity and simple things. She takes the opportunity to ask Yamori about a person she's looking for. She shows him a picture of a man known as Akin. It turns out to be Seri's friend who became a vampire. Yamori tries to deny knowing him, but the woman grabs his arm threateningly. She knows he's lying but leaves him alone, gives him money to pay for the coffee, and leaves the place. The detective is sure that she's getting closer to the truth hidden in the nightlife. Another time, Yamori meets with his friends Mihiru and Akira. The three of them go to their school for a nighttime adventure and jump over the entrance fence one by one. Mihiru tells them that she invited them because she wants to create good memories with them and takes them to explore the mysteries of the school. First, they go to the bathroom to see if a ghost really appears. Since it's the girls' bathroom, Akira has to do the test of calling the spirit. Mihiru scares her, and she ends up with a bump on her head. Then they go to the music room, but nothing strange happens there either. Finally, they take photos throughout the school, exploring its mysteries, which turn out to be mere fantasies. However, they still need to confirm one last thing. 10 years ago, a teacher disappeared, and rumors say that he appears in the classrooms every night. Akira and Yamori don't believe the story, but when Mihiru opens the door to a classroom, they encounter a disturbing man. The phenomenon attacks Mihiru, intending to devour her. Mihiru tries to rescue her, but Yamori is paralyzed with fear because he knows it's a vampire. Finally, he gathers courage and hits the man with a chair, freeing his friend. Yamori finds it strange that the vampire is dirty and ugly when they are supposed to be beautiful like the vampires he already knows. The man laments on the floor and tells them to run, as he wasn't supposed to find anyone at that hour. Then the woman detective appears with an arrogant attitude and tells the man that he can drink her blood. The vampire lunges at her and sinks his fangs into her, but then he releases her and writhes in pain on the floor due to the bad taste. The detective had investigated him before and knew that a woman seduced and turned him into a vampire against his will. He hid for 10 years to avoid drinking human blood, but the kids went to the school at the wrong time, and that's why he attacked them. Coincidentally, that night was his last before dying, but the detective said she would release him before he died and placed a silver ring on his hand. The man started screaming in anguish, but she never let go of his hand until the morning sun rose, and the man vanished, turning into ashes. Yamori reproaches her for being so cruel. She gets annoyed and scolds him, calling him a naive child who knows nothing about vampires. Then she gives them her contact information in case they need help and leaves. With what happened, the boy returns home feeling sad, realizing that he truly knows nothing about vampires. Yamori is still disturbed by what happened at school, while Mihiru goes to the detective to ask for information. Yamori analyzes while lying on his bed that he only knows the good side of vampires and that he needs to talk to Nazuna to learn more. When he meets with the vampire, she is eager to drink his blood, but the memories from the previous night make him reject her. He then tells Nazuna what happened at school. She tells him that it's normal for the man to attack if he was starving, and Yamori asks if the same could happen to her. Nazuna gets upset and invites him to go out. While they stroll, she explains that vampires who go 10 years without feeding will die. On Yamori's part, he is afraid because the detective knows how to kill a vampire. He also starts to fear what Nazuna really is. The girl mocks him, saying he should have always been afraid. But now that he feels more comfortable with his emotions, Yamori offers her to drink his blood, and the girl doesn't hesitate to attach herself to his neck. Later, Yamori accompanies Mihiru to deliver a flower order. After finishing, his friend asks why he wants to become a vampire if he can enjoy the night without transforming. Yamori starts to doubt everything he has been doing these past months and can only return to Nazuna's apartment to ask her for a hug. After that, Nazuna goes to Yamori's room for the first time and explores it completely, although she finds it strange not to find any erotic magazines. Yamori tells her that his mother works at that hour, and his father hasn't been around since their divorce. The girl keeps searching for adult magazines but finds nothing. Finally, she gets serious and asks Yamori if he's doubting becoming a vampire after his friend scolded him and because he's afraid of the woman who kills vampires. Yamori has just discovered that nightlife can be fun but also dangerous, and he doesn't want anyone to get hurt. Besides, he already enjoys himself a lot as a human, and Nazuna doesn't even want to turn him, so he could just stay content as he is. The girl is disappointed but accepts it. Then she asks him why he likes the night. He says it gives him freedom. The girl tells him that he actually likes it because it took him out of his horrible daily routine. Nazuna tells him that she can also get bored of going out to play every night. She confesses that she herself has been bored for many years, which is why she enjoyed going out with him. Yamori reproaches her for only showing him the good things, but she only wanted to see that. She decides to escape through the window, but the boy stops her, and they both fall together on the bed with the lights off. The girl approaches as if she's going to kiss him, but she only licks his neck and leaves. Yamori meets with the detective and discovers that she knows even the most intimate and embarrassing details of his life, including his silly dream of becoming a vampire. He asks her why she doesn't want to let him fulfill his dream. Obviously, it's because vampires harm humans. After all, he would have to attack others to feed. Although she thinks that if he hasn't turned after so long, maybe he never will, so she doesn't consider it a problem for her. But he has to consider that if he doesn't turn, the vampires will not only kill him to protect their secret, but Nazuna will also be in danger. So she tells him that he must die unless he helps her exterminate them all. But Yamori doesn't support her because he believes that vampires can also be good. The woman threatens him and calls the police to report that a minor is on the streets in the early morning. Yamori runs away to escape from the patrol searching for him. He hides in a park not knowing where to go, and luckily, Hitsuka arrives to help him. Nazuna was in front of her console without even pressing the buttons, until she decided to get up and go out to solve her problems. Meanwhile, Yamori was arriving at Hitsuka's apartment where they were greeted by 3 overly cheerful servants of their mistress. Hitsuka shooed them away to attend to her guest, and they became annoyed but had to leave resignedly, or else their mistress would get angry. Yamori sat waiting while the girl took a shower. Interestingly, there was only one couch in the whole apartment, and Yamori thought the girl was very strange. Just like the other vampires he couldn't fully understand. Hitsuka stood at the door of her bathroom to ask him to pass her a towel. Then Yamori noticed her naked body, which had no breasts and something hanging down below. It turns out she was a man dressing as a woman. Hitsuka explained that she did it because she looked good, and she found it strange that Nazuna hadn't told him. But in reality, the vampire never told the boy anything. Meanwhile, Nazuna meets with the group of vampires to ask them to leave Yamori alone if he doesn't become a vampire. Nico gets so angry that she breaks a table because Nazuna is too audacious. She demands an explanation as to why Yamori is so important to her, hoping to hear a sweet love story that would make the girl blush. Hitsuka, on the other hand, is very surprised that Yamori has started to doubt becoming a vampire. When she heard the story of the woman who killed a vampire and turned him to ashes, she told Yamori that they actually don't know much about their own kind or why some humans have good or bad blood. She becomes curious to taste the boy's delicious blood in exchange for helping him previously. Yamori rejects her, and Hitsuka receives a message with the photo of the broken table from the fight with Nazuna, and she shows it to the boy. She explains that among the vague rules vampires have, Nazuna is the one taking the most risks to protect him. But Hitsuka offers to take responsibility for turning him into a vampire because she can better understand his heart as they are both men. Yamori surprises Hitsuka by telling him that he is at least cute. He understands that the barrier between men and women prevents him from fully understanding Nazuna. But when he asks Hitsuka how he would make him fall in love with him, the boy says he would simply brainwash him like he did with his other servants. Yamori doesn't hesitate to reject him for that and tells him that despite everything, he still prefers Nazuna. He remembers how sad his friend was the previous night and decides that he actually wants to help her escape from the boredom she has lived with for years. When he goes to where the vampires are, Nazuna has already left, and Nico says that she can't even speak after what they did to her in exchange for protecting Yamori. Yamori gets worried and runs to find her. On the way, he is found by the police but manages to escape. Nazuna walks the streets feeling regretful because she has been deceiving the boy all that time, pretending to be an expert of nightlife when, in reality, she knows nothing about the night apart from playing and drinking. Yamori finds her at the vending machine where they first met and realizes that she is not hurt as he thought. In fact, Nico forced her to confess that she was in love with him to embarrass her, and they made a deal that she would have to do whatever it takes to make Yamori fall in love with her, and only then would her friends protect them while waiting for the boy to turn. Yamori tells Nazuna that her life was boring before he met her, but now he is happy and having fun. That's all they need, so he will fall in love with her so she won't be alone. The girl is moved and understands that she needs to make an effort to help the boy fall in love. She suddenly kisses him on the mouth, leaving him surprised, and asks him to become closer. All the girls will eagerly wait to see how their story unfolds. And that's how the first part of this anime ends. If you've reached this part of the video, let me tell you that you've been one of the few people to make it here, so comment the word vampire in the comments. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. With that said, see you in the next video.